I got to get to Chris Shores. Chris is a longtime Republican operative and consultant in Virginia. He's a conservative and pro-life, and he's got something going on tomorrow that just kind of bubbled up from a Facebook post. Chris Shores, great to have you.
Thank you, John. I appreciate you having me on the show.
All right, thanks for your patience. We've been slammed today over the, I'm going to say it again, the governor's debacle, series of debacles. You know, Chris, this all started on Wednesday with Kathy Tram, the House of Delegates member from Northern Virginia, introducing a bill basically allowing for the abortion of a child, I guess, up till it's in the birth canal. I was just aghast by the whole thing. And then the governor doubling down several times, first on a radio station saying that, well, you know, you deliver the baby and then resuscitate it if need be and make it comfortable, and then they make a decision. I don't really understand what you would make a decision on, Chris. But then tell us about what went on. You had a Facebook post, and now it's turned into this major rally.
Well, yes. So John, like so many of, like you and so many across the Commonwealth, from really, you know, all political persuasions and different backgrounds and thought on this, I think that all of us were just completely shocked about the governor's comments. I mean, initially by Delegate Tran's bill, as you said, and how she described that. But then the governor went on not just to defend her bill, but he took it a step further, and he laid out in just a very callous and cold way what you described as, you know, even after birth. And so it just, I think people were shocked. I mean, I think the conscience of our Commonwealth was absolutely shocked that their governor would speak in these terms and in such a restrained and just balanced way that just seemed second nature for him. And so, you know, my wife and I, being, as you said, folks that have been involved in the movement, of the conservative and pro-life movement here in Virginia for a number of years, we started receiving calls from friends and folks all across the Commonwealth, folks in churches and political leaders and opinion leaders from around the state wanted to know, you know, what are we going to do about this? How are we going to speak out about it? So we got together with Elliot Harding, who's a guy who's been working to organize millennials in the conservative movement, and particularly on life and family issues. And so we decided to put up a Facebook post. We threw up a post and said, okay, we'll invite some of our friends and others who want to come to the Capitol and pray about this and you know, and discuss this. And so we thought, you know, we'll get a couple hundred people. But within 24 hours, we had about 500 or 600 people interested in this event. And then within 48 hours, we had well over 2,000. I think now we're well over 3,000 people involved, and we have about a dozen national and statewide organizations who have signed on to partner with us at this event. And we're going to go down to Richmond on Thursday and be heard.
So Richmond on Thursday, where is it, what time? Give us again, go over the specifics.
Yeah, so it's the Commonwealth for Life rally, and it's going to be Thursday, February 7th at 10 a.m. on the Capitol steps in Richmond, suggesting that people try to get there by 8:30 or 9 o'clock, because we do know of a number of of buses and vans and folks carpooling, and a large number of people will be traveling in even the night before. So I would tell people to get there as early as possible on Thursday.
How many people do you think will be there?
You know, I don't want to put a number on it. Don't want to play the prediction game, but I can tell you just through our social media engagement, we're well over 3,000 people engaging with us through social media. And I do know that all of the various organizations that are involved are promoting the event. They're emailing their lists. They're doing their own promotions of the event. I know of several Catholic high schools that will be busing students in. I know of a number of churches and other Christian schools and groups around the state who also have chartered buses to bring folks in. So, you know, John, I don't know. I think it would be a success if we had 500, but I'm hoping for several thousand.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. We're with Chris Shores. Chris is a longtime Republican political activist in the Lynchburg area. Chris, this rally I think is going to be pretty big. What's just gone on in the last few days here with the governor, where he might resign or might not, under fire from everybody, will that have an impact at all on your rally?
Well, I think so. I mean, we've had a number of people reaching out to us, on various topics about what's going on. And, I'm certainly, as many other people, appalled by these photos that came out, and then the governor's ensuing actions on, kind of going back and forth and how this would be handled. And he's had several press conferences dealing with both of the issues, and he's had several videos and statements going out, and many of them contradictory. He doubles down on the life issue when he spoke about it, but of course he initially accepted, but then denied, his participation in those photos. So I just think it shows a real political calculation here. I don't know what his team is doing or how he's handling this. But, John, and I am appalled, as everyone else is, about the photos and stuff. But I think we ought to be equally or more so appalled that our governor was advocating for infanticide on the radio. I mean, folks in power should have immediately called for his resignation over that issue, as much as the Democrats have been pouncing on him over the photographs.
You're right, Chris. Both are appalling. I was certainly aghast. And I told you on the phone the other day that, that whole Kathy Tram bill and the way the governor justified it on the radio, and then his press conference on Friday, which I found to be just unbelievably amateurish. This was the one on Friday. Forget the one on Saturday. That was worse. Where he trots out, everybody that's co-patroned the bill and, talking about being able to terminate the life of an unborn while they're in the birth canal tract. And then the governor tripling down and saying, well, even after it's birthed. I'm telling you, Chris, this is not my issue, as you know. I mean, I'm Catholic, I'm pro-life, but I also, I'm not for overturning Roe v. Wade under any circumstances. I think part of the culture, and it is what it is, and Catholics like me just don't want third term. You kind of deal with it. But I tell you what, that event, the whole thing last week, I found just to be one of the most distasteful things I can imagine in politics in a very long time. And so it ignited a lot of people. It was a bridge too far. And then, you couple that with, this photo. It's like, Chris, let me ask you this. Would you ever dress up in a Ku Klux Klan outfit?
No, certainly not. And John, I find it, this was not 1964. This was 1984 in the Commonwealth of Virginia, when this occurred. And so for this to be dismissed in any way is, it's just callous. I mean, this clearly, you would know if you participated. I certainly would know if I had participated in something like that. I certainly would vividly be able to recall it. And, of course, I never would. So, no, I think this clearly the governor has found himself in an untenable situation here. And now, of course, we have the information surfacing, alleged sexual harassment or whatever by the lieutenant governor. So certainly the leadership of our Commonwealth right now is being rocked by all of this.
So I just want to ask our listeners out there, and this is where I think the governor in this picture issue has a tremendous credibility issue. I want you to ask yourself, could you ever imagine donning yourself in a Ku Klux Klan wizard uniform, complete with mask and hat? And if you did in your 20s, wouldn't you have remembered that? And then he spent 15 minutes at his press conference, Chris, talking about dressing up as Michael Jackson, the dancer, and putting shoe polish on his face and how difficult that was to remove, which was a calculated offensive salvo because he knew that was coming out. So he nipped that in the bud and tried to turn it into an excuse or something. And then he talked about how tough it was to get off his face. Now, he remembered that, but if he was blackface in the photo with shoe polish, he didn't remember that. So you remember one but not the other. You don't remember putting a hood on. I mean, the Friday statement where Northam said, yes, I apologize for being in the picture, and then like, well, I don't know if I was in a picture, and now I'm not in the picture. I mean, Chris, it's, a reasonable person just can't believe this.
I don't think there's any way that our governor can moonwalk back those comments that he made. He's caught. He's in a trap now. He clearly employed one strategy right out of the gate, which I think was initially to maybe hint at some truth to it, but then obviously his political team decided that he was going to move in another direction. But he's totally mismanaged all of this. But aside from the political frame of it, it's just morally reprehensible that he would have participated in this to begin with at all. And the fact that he ran consciously and actively pursued a race baiting campaign against Ed Gillespie for governor when he ran against him. He based his entire campaign off of that and trying to paint Ed Gillespie and the Republican Party with a broad brush when he himself had a white sheet hanging in his own closet.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for mentioning that. I mean, I mentioned it one time earlier in a 4-hour show, but this is the other disturbing thing to me. I mean, Ralph Northam made every attempt to paint Gillespie as a racist. Now, some of us like it and some of us don't. And you call him establishment and whatever, but certainly there's no racist history in his background at any level, at all. And so many of us found that campaign to be distasteful of the way that Northam painted him, and he had no hesitation in doing that. And then you see this, and you're like, well, what a hypocrite. Because Ed didn't do this. Ed didn't do anything near this. I mean, Ed Gillespie's a really nice guy, and so is his wife. I mean, they're really nice people. And he got tagged with this by Northam for power. And I get back to what I said earlier, Chris. To me now, when I look back at Northam, it's all about political power and expediency. And what is going to get Ralph Northam most power, he's fine with it. I don't think the guy believes in anything. When it really annoys me when I get people like Terry McAuliffe, who I'm a fan of, as you know, as governor, said, oh, Donald Trump doesn't have a core. Let me tell you, Donald Trump has been saying the same things, Chris, agree with it or not, for 40 years. He's been saying the same things, and he's never wavered on any of them.
Right.
And, I got to hear McAuliffe tell me about he doesn't have a core. No, Ralph Northam doesn't have a core. First, he's a Republican, then he's a Democrat, then he's going to go back to a Republican when it suits him, then he's going to be a Democrat, then he's a centrist, then he's not a centrist, then he's a liberal, then he's not a liberal, then he's, whatever, right? Now, all of a sudden, he's a late-term aborter. I mean, the guy is he is the epitome of why people hate politics. This guy doesn't stand for anything, man. Nothing. Again.
Right. Well, if you'll remember, before he decided that he needed to rush to appeasing the progressive left of his party, he had almost caucused with Republicans at one point when he thought that the power was going in that direction in the state Senate. And then in addition to that, he bragged about having voted for both Bushes until he got into a primary contest with a much more progressive leftist for the nomination for governor.
Unbelievable. Chris Shores, what's your Facebook page if people want to go to your event?
Yeah, so you can go to our Facebook page at www.virginia, that's VA first, the word first, foundation.org, and you can go there and get more information about the event or sign up to attend the event. You can find us on Facebook as well at Commonwealth for Life Rally. We're encouraging all Virginians to come participate in this. This is not a political show. This is not a rally. This is an opportunity for people to share their history. 1 in 4 women in the Commonwealth, John, have been touched by abortion in some way. And so this speaks to men, this speaks to women, this speaks to families all across the Commonwealth and our country. And so this is an issue that is near and dear to the hearts of many people. And I am actually glad that this has been brought to the front burner and that the Democrat Party has been exposed to the agenda that they really support. They support these agendas. They don't. It's just that they usually don't come out and talk about it. But they were pushed into these. They were pushed into this, and to answer these questions, they were forced to be truthful about the agenda that we know that they've promoted for a long time. And we're just pleased that we have an opportunity to invite people down to our capital, to Jefferson's capital, to speak about these issues of heart and these issues that affect people everyday lives. And so this is a time of prayer. This is a time of healing, hopefully for folks. And it's just an opportunity for people to get together and share those thoughts and feelings.